Hare Krishna.
So, welcome to our ongoing study of Srimad Bhagavatam, and here we are on chapter number 14, King Chitraketu's Lamentation. So you will remember, in the previous chapter, we had the death of Vritrasura, and then we had Indra's sinful reactions, and Maharaj Parikshit begins his 14th chapter expressing his surprise that how was it possible that this demon, Vritrasura, could have so much devotion. Because he's a demon, and he gave a lot of trouble to people, and he was very much, it seems like he's very much in the mode of passion and ignorance, but it's, on the other hand, it seems like he's completely transcendental. And even you had his arms cut off, and he's still fighting and still telling Indra, fight, don't be attached to the result. The results are all the grace of the Supreme Lord. Everything is up in his hands, and we're just instruments in his service. And so Maharaj Parikshit was just trying to understand who was this Vritrasura? How could he have so much devotion? Because usually the devotee will be in the mode of goodness, but the demons are in the mode of passion and ignorance. So the 14th chapter begins in that way with Indra Parikshit inquiring about how Vritrasura could have so much love for the Supreme Lord.
Maharaj,
Yeah?
This 13th chapter about Vritrasura's narration, if it would have come after this Chitraketu's incident, then this question would have not arisen. First, this chapter, if it is coming, Chitraketu's lamentation, if it is coming fast, then that Vritrasura incident, if it comes, then this question would have not arisen by Parikshit. No?
Well,
I mean, why that Vritrasura...
it's not chronological. That's the question. Why it's not chronological?
Why it is come earlier, Vritrasura incident?
well, he was telling about how the demigods had lost their guru, how they needed a guru, and how they were told to take this other person for the guru. And he was telling about how Brihaspati had left the demigods. So he was telling, that it was quite chronological. We were hearing about the daughters of Daksha and the different daughters. And so one of them, like that, Rochana, she was the daughter of Daksha, and she was married to this demon, right? Tosta. And so their son, Vishwarup, had feelings towards the demigods and the demons.
Descendants serially real.
Yeah. It was coming from the beginning. Daksha was one of the Prajapatis. And then he has many daughters and gave them in marriage to different people. So he was telling about Rochana. She was one of the daughters of Daksha. And she was married this Vishwarup. She married Twasta. And Twasta was the father of Vishwarup. And Twasta was also the father of Vritrasura. You see? So that's why it's coming like that. The chronological order is there. Alright, so Maharaj Parikshit's question is quite noted. How is it possible he could be such a great devotee? And described here, demigods are in the mode of goodness, and the demons are in the mode of passion and ignorance. Among living entities, very few human beings. There's so many living entities, just like here in Mayapur. There's so many insects, there's so many birds, there's so many other living entities. It's not only human beings. The human beings, we think, 100,000 people came to the temple on New Year's Day or something, Okay, you know that. But how many trees are there? And how many blades of grass are there? And how many birds are there in the trees? And how many insects? How many mosquitoes are there? There's so, we're very few. Human being, human life is rare. Durlabha, manava. Vaja harimana, srinandana, vaja. Durlabha manava, janava satsangi, taraho pavu, sindari. Right? So it's rare to get a human body. And of those who've got a human body, Maharaj Parikshit saying, very few are interested in following religious principles. We know ourselves. Of all the people who come to Mayapur, do you think they're all following religious principles? No, I don't think so. Huh?
No, not all.
Huh?
Not all, some people.
Yeah, some are following, but not all. Definitely not. So some of the human beings, some few are following religious principles. And of those who are following religious principles, how many are interested in liberation? Right? That's the next thing. Higher than that, they have an interest in religion, that's one thing. But higher than that, who wants liberation? Because to get liberation from the material world means you have to give up material attachment. Do you think people are willing to give up their material attachments? No way, So there may be, if you have even thousands of people who want liberation, one may actually achieve liberation out of thousands of them. Right? Manushinam sahasresu kastin. One man among thousands is endeavoring for perfection. So liberation, giving up attachment to the country, the home, the wife, the children, these things. And out of many liberated persons, who can understand the true meaning of liberation? You may think, I'm liberated, but who knows what is the actual meaning of liberation, right? What is the actual meaning of liberation?
Going back to body.
To not be affected by the material modes and the body.
Yeah, actually, liberated souls, that they will know their rasa with Krishna.
Become situated in one's,
Huh?
become situated in one's constitutional position.
Yes, right. They should be situated in their constitutional position. They should know their rasa with Krishna. That is actual liberation. So how many people, of those who are liberated, how many have actually understood liberation? Very less. And it goes on the same way. Of those who are liberated and in perfect knowledge, one may be a devotee. Among millions of liberated souls, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayana. So such devotees are very rare. That's verse number 5, right? Sudurlabha prasant atma kotishvati mahamani. Sudurlabha means very rare. Muktanama pisadanam narayana parayana. Right? There's many devotees who are Narayana, but very rare that someone is Narayana Parayana. Narayana Parayana means that they've taken actually real shelter of Lord Narayana, of the Supreme Lord. Narayana is some other people, they may be liberated, they've understood they're not the body. That's one level of liberation. They've understood they're not the body, just like Mayavadis or Jnanavadis, the Jnani Yogis. They've understood they're not the body, they're detached from material sense gratification. But that's not enough, that's not the real goal. They may be liberated for some time, Where can they go? The highest they can go, they can achieve the Brahma Jyoti. They'll go to the Brahma Jyoti and then they'll come back. They won't stay there. They'll go into the Brahma Jyoti and they'll stay for some, again they'll come back. You know, like yogis, they go into the Himalayas and they stay in a cave in the Himalayas and they stay there for some time and then they come back. You get these people who do it. You get the Buddhist monks also who do like that too. You know, they go into they do renunciation, very renounce for some years or something, and then they come back. And what do they do? Oh, one Buddhist monk I know, he built a museum. He opened his own museum, a museum of religions.
What is there inside?
Huh?
What is there in that museum?
Well, different religions, you know, and he shows Hinduism, he shows Hare Krishna then, all the, were there too. But, you know, like that. They don't know actually what is spiritual activity. They don't know how to engage in spiritual activities. So their liberation is not actually liberation. So this is the beginning. This is how you understand what is actually the goal. This Vritrasura, he was actually Narayana, Parayana. He had achieved this very, very exalted, very rare position that he was completely attached to the Supreme Lord. And he just wanted to get out of the material world and go and be with the Supreme Lord. So here, Prabhupada, in this purport, here is text number 5, the purport, Prabhupada quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, describing about different people, different levels in which they can come to. So it mentions there are 2 kinds of jnanis, right? What are the 2 kinds of jnanis?
Impersonalist and devotee.
Yes, right. One is devotee and one is impersonal. The other class of jnani, jnanis mixed with bhakti. There are also 2 kinds. Some are devoted to the false forms, and some are devoted to the actual spiritual form. So, like that, we understand what is actually liberation. Swarupena Vaibhava. Huh?
Swarupena Vyavastitihi.
Swarupena Vaibhava. Meaning?
So the real liberation is attaining our eternal position in the service of the Lord in spiritual world.
Right. So this is actually the complete liberation when you understand that. But to just simply understand you're not the body, that's the beginning of liberation. But you have to go further than that to get actually liberated. You know, just understanding you're not the body, you can detach yourself for some time from the material world. But again, the desire comes for activities. If they're not properly engaged, they haven't taken up devotional service, so they have no engagement, they have no relationship with the Lord. So they will not be satisfied at that position. Alright? So Prabhupada is quite a long purport there. And here you can see how Martha said, unless the dirt within the core of one's heart is cleansed away, one cannot become a pure devotee. Therefore the word Sudurlabha, very rarely found, is used in this verse. Not only among hundreds and thousands, but among millions of perfectly liberated souls, a pure devotee is hardly ever found. And then Prabhupada quotes this very interesting, this Tantra Bhagavat. It said, there are 90 million demigods and 70 million sages who are all called Narayana, devotees of Lord Narayan. Among them, only a few are called Narayana Parayana. How many demigods do we usually say? 33 crore, right? This is only 9 crore. We lost some. Here is saying 90 million, that's 9 crore. About 9 and 7, because count the sages, then 16. We say 33 crore.
Just even half of them.
Yeah. And then Prabhupada also talks about the siddhas. The difference between the siddhas and Narayana Parayanas is that direct devotees are called Narayana Parayanas, whereas those who perform various types of mystic yoga are called siddhas. So what will those doing mystic yoga, what are they trying to achieve? What's their goal?
Mystic powers.
Mystic powers.
Yeah, usually, they want mystic power, right? What about, do they want to get out of the material world?
They want power, basically.
They
want some
We also
mystic
hear
power,
that
fame, and name and
Paramatma
fame.
liberation, we also hear that. Paramatma liberation.
They meditate on the super soul.
Yeah.
But often they think they're one with the super soul, that they've become the super soul. They are the super soul. You get like that, people, you get some siddhas like that. So siddha actually means perfection. So their perfection is, of course, some material. They want some kind of power. So Parikshit continues, he said, Vitrasura was giving trouble and anxiety to others. How could such a demon become so greatly Krishna conscious? So Maharaj Parikshit continues, how could such a demon be a great devotee of Lord Krishna? These contradictions have caused me great doubt, and they have made me eager to hear of this from you. So, Sutta Goswami, so the scene changes to Sutta Goswami, and he describes about Maharaj Parikshit questioning Sukadeva Goswami, and how Sukadeva Goswami began. Here's Sukadeva Goswami replying to the question. And Sukadeva Goswami said, I will tell you what I heard from the mouths of Vyasadeva, Narada, and Devala. So Sukadeva Goswami has heard about this Vritrasura. He knows everything about, so he's telling the history. So here he goes, telling about Chitraketu, that long ago in the province of Shurasin, there was a king named Chitraketu who ruled the entire earth. During his reign, the earth produced all the necessities for life. So this is important to understand. All the necessities of life. When you have a good king, then the earth will provide everything necessary for the maintenance of the people. If the ruler is not good, then there will be scarcity. So when Chitraketu was the king, There was no scarcity. Everything was provided. The people were happy. Everything was arranged. So Prabhupada says this is the significance of the word kamaduk. Kamaduk means a desire-fulfilling cow. Cows are something called kamaduk. So then Prabhupada talks about Maharaj Yudhisthira. The clouds showered all the waters that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of men in profusion.
What did you say? Kamaduk?
Huh?
Kamaduk, what did you say? Kamaduk?
Kamaduk is a desire-fulfilling cow. A cow. But here it means somebody can fulfill all desires. So Prabhupada said, we have experienced that in some seasons the rains produce abundance, and in other seasons there is scarcity. We have no control over the earth's productiveness. Just like here in Mayapur, sometimes you get heavy rain, like last year there's a lot of rain, right? But sometimes you don't get any rain. Sometimes it's a drought. And there's no rain. It'll be very hot, but no rain. So we have no control over this thing. We try to control them. Scientists try. They send airplanes up into the air and they fire chemicals. They will make some rain, but it's not really not the real answer, not the solution to the problem.
And here in Mayapur we do a lot of Sankirtan Yajna and all. So still there is no rain. Last 5 months there is no rain here.
Last 5 months there has been no rain.
No.
Well, you had the rainy season. You had a lot of rain during the rainy season. Now it's the dry season.
Still the rain is required.
Prabhu, if you miss the rain, come to England. It rains every day. It's depressing. No sunshine.
No problem there.
So there are a lot of doing Sankirtan Yajna.
No Sankirtan Yajna. Just rain and very cloudy, no sunshine. Everybody suffering from the disease called SAD, sunshine something deficiency.
What disease?
It's called SAD, sunshine, I don't know what the A stands for, then D is deficiency. Because there's not enough sun, people generally get quite depressed and low.
Oh, sad. Okay, so Prabhupada says simply ruling the land cannot solve man's problems unless the leader has spiritual capabilities. He must be like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Parikshit Maharaj, or Ramachandra. Then all the inhabitants of the land will be extremely happy. So, the king, the leader, very important. It makes a difference, when you have the leader, there, then things go on generally very nicely. Just like when the leader of a spiritual movement is there, then the movement is very powerful. But when the leader disappears, when they leave the body, then the movement can go through some turmoil, some changes. And to keep it going is a challenge sometimes. So, and that's described in Srimad Bhagavatam also. And that's the history of, like Gaudiya Math also, after Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati departed, then there were problems. people started to fight with each other. The preaching got minimized. So when the king is good, when the king is pious, and he follows the Shastra, then there will be regular rainfall and sufficient produce to provide for everyone. There will be no black marketing, no corruption. Everyone will be living in a cooperative manner. So this king Chitraketu, we're told about him, 10 million wives. It's inconceivable.
How it is possible?
How is it possible?
More than Lord Krishna. More than Lord.
Even to count, like, you feel the difficulty to count just wives.
And people complain about Lord Krishna, 16,000, but yet Chitraketu had 10 million ones. And he wasn't able to get even one child. All the wives were barren. How is it possible? 10 million ladies all barren.
Maharaj, with this question, with this statement, it makes me wonder: is that why are the wives called barren? If it's 10 million, how is it that there's not something wrong with him? Why is it put on the woman that all the wives?
It's mentioned that he was fine.
Yeah.
But he couldn't have a son. What?
It's mentioned that he was fine, but wives were barren.
Yeah.
It's mentioned in the Shastra. Yeah. It's mentioned there.
Okay, find that bit.
It's mentioned that he was fine from his side.
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
potent.
All the wives are barren. By chance, all the wives are barren.
Yeah.
He was capable of producing children.
Certainly
Yeah,
very
it is.
difficult to understand. 10 million queens. What about all the other women? You know? Anyway, Chitraketu, he was endowed with a beautiful form, magnanimity and youth. Born in a high family, complete education, wealthy and opulent. But he was full of anxiety because he did not have a son. No. Prabhupada writes, Grihastha life does not mean having a wife and no children. Chanakya the Pandit says, if a family man has no son, his home is no better than a desert. So, this could be understood wrongly, right? How should we understand this? What is the wrong way and what is the right way to understand this statement? If a family man has no son, his home is no better than a desert. You have a wife? Married? No? You're in white? Huh? You're brahmachari? I'm not putting myself on you.
We didn't tell him.
Okay, anyway, how do we understand this? His home, a family man has no son, his home is no better than a desert.
Maharaj, here, putras mean just a son or daughter also?
Putra means a son.
Some people have daughters, no son.
That's different. Yes?
So we understand it to be no better than a desert because in a desert there's no vegetation. Even if you put seeds in it, nothing will grow from it. So my understanding is that a family man is obviously trying to have children, but nothing comes from it. So it's like barren land. It's like a desert that nothing can grow there. It's not fruitful.
So, does that apply to all men who don't have a son? Married men? They're family men with no son? You're going to tell them their home is like a desert?
Maharaj, this Grihastha life means people get married. The very purpose of marriage is to get a son. Very purpose of marriage is to get a son. If that there is no son, that means the purpose of marriage is not fulfilled. Purpose of marriage is not to fulfill the desire of the body. It is only for the son. It is marriage is done. So once there is no son means the purpose is not fulfilled.
Maharaj, those who are materialistic people, for them sense gratification is the only aim of life, and they think that after sense gratification, their son should give pinda so that they can be saved from the hellish condition of life. They think of having a son, otherwise who will do punya, who will do pinda, who will take care of us after we are gone. But those who are Krishna conscious devotees, for them it is different. They are not depending on their son or daughter to deliver them, but in fact they are helping others to get delivered.
Yes. So, but you have not answered my question. If a family man has no son, his home is no better than a desert.
So those are materialistic people. It's very natural for them to have, child playing at home, the sound that attracts them. If the sound is not there, then there is no impetus to do something good. There's no impetus to earn money because nobody is there to take care after this.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that happens. That people, when the man has a son, of course, then he's naturally very happy. He feels very fulfilled, and then he becomes more enthusiastic to work and bring money that he's supporting his son, for his son to take care of his family.
I have 2 daughters, and all my relatives always complain, it's good to have a son. Like that, they always tell me.
Yes, right, they'll tell you. Yeah, for sure. If you have a son, it's better. You should have a boy.
Plus, if you don't have a son, then you don't get share from the property. You don't inherit the property. In my village, it's like that. In my uncle, he has 4 sons. One of them doesn't have a son, only daughters. He has no share in the property. His daughters got married, his wife died. Now he's practically living here and there. He has nowhere to go. So that lineage is not continuing. And he's not Krishna conscious, so he's just living sometimes one daughter's house, sometime here, sometime there, like that. Like a desert life practically.
So is it a fact then that home is no better than a desert if you have no son? You have a son, right? How old is he?
16.
16? Oh, he's staying here.
Yeah, he's in the ashram.
It's in the ashram, no? The Bhakti. Good. Okay, so? What do you say, Mataji?
For a Krishna conscious family, Grahastha life, whatever Krishna gives, we should just accept that. If Krishna is giving son, then it's okay. Otherwise, dedicate your life for Krishna consciousness. For outside life, then still some people will be composed whatever comes in their way, and they're fine with it, and that goes on. For some people, it's like that.
Yeah. Family man, you have no son. Okay, make Krishna your son. If you take Krishna for your son. One couple did that. Here, Prabhupada quotes about some Bengali couple here in Navadvip. They had no son. They took the deity as their son. And they had the deity married, Krishna gets married to Tosi or something. Like that, they did something like that. And then when the couple died, then Krishna did their last rites. He lit the fire for the cremation of their body. So you can do like that. This home no better than the desert. But if Bhakti Thakur said, Yedina grehe bhajana deke, grehe te golokabai. When I'm in my home worshipping the deity, then my home becomes Goloka. Of course, he had sons. But even if he didn't say because my sons, but if you're worshipping the deity, your home becomes a spiritual world. Desert, that's for people in the bodily platform, very much. People in the bodily platform, they think like that. Oh, no son. But you have a son, the son can be very bad. You know, a son could be very bad. He could be, so many people, they have a son, he's a drug addict, or what is a drunkard, or he's always coming, taking the money, always wants money. You get these kind of sons, It's not just having a son, There's a quality in the son, If the son is not a devotee, then it's a big problem.
There are other things also, like if the woman is not having son, I'm telling from North India, culture is like that. They won't invite her for the wedding, prominent ceremonies in the wedding, like where they only invite those who have son or daughter. They don't even invite those women. They're considered inauspicious. There are other factors also. There are many other factors. Like this thing is like there was what you call Kanya Dan. Is daughter given as charity to the husband, to the boy. That time they all touch and worship her, touch her feet, the daughter's feet, who's getting married. And the woman who has no children, she is not allowed to do that. It's an auspicious ceremony and they should not go there, you are barren. Or during the engagement ceremony, they are not allowed.
It's in the Samskara book, it's written because they may feel envious in their heart.
Yeah,
so
that's why they're not there.
Yeah, so that's why they're not invited, because they might have ill feeling.
Yeah.
So my grand, she had 5 daughters, and the whole village would say, oh, you don't have a son, you don't have a son. So she did many years of austerity, and then she finally got a son, but he didn't look after her at all, he didn't take care of her. So and when he got married, he threw her out the house. So she had to live with all of her daughters, and she was like, better to have 100 daughters than to have a son like this. I should have not had a son. Because sometimes sons can cause a lot of pain also.
Oh yes, yeah. It's not just having a son, but what's the quality, what's the character of the son? That's also important. Yeah. You have daughters. Daughters are good because they're much more caring. They'll look after the mother and father.
It is better not to have a Vena.
Sons are
Vena.
Okay.
Plus, Maharaj, daughters look at, in North India, they look at her, you have to get her married and pay a lot of dowry, so she's like a burden.
But that's illegal, dowry now in India, right?
No, dowry is not legal.
It's not illegal. It's illegal.
It's illegal, yeah.
Well, in different countries it's different. In China, if you want a wife, you have to pay for the woman. You have to give the money to her parents. If you want a Chinese woman to marry, you have to go to mother and father and give them money.
100 years back in India also it was like that. 100 years back.
Oh, why?
Kanya.
There are some places.
These are cultural things. These are not Vedic things.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what's happening in the village, that is not cultural. Not from Shastra. It's a cultural thing that's been perverted over the years.
No, actually, the daughter's share in the property was given as a dowry in the Vedic culture. Her share is given as a dowry with love and care, without any bad feelings. Because in Vedic culture, daughter gets married and she has no right in the property of the father or ancestral property. She has no share. She gets share in her husband's property. So it was like that her share in the property is given as with her, with love and care. But gradually over a period of time, with the Kali progressing, it became like it got distorted, and people started demanding dowry. That my son is now inspector, 30 lakh rupees or 50 lakh rupees dowry. Nowadays it has become like that. A cap is there with the position the son is having.
Okay, we have to go on. So all of the queens were very beautiful. Of course, 10 million, they're all beautiful. But still, he wasn't happy. And then he was fortunate, he got special mercy. This sage named Angira was traveling, and he came to the palace of Chitraketu. And Chitraketu receives him very nicely. He shows proper respect, he offers him worship, he offers drinking water and eatables. He was a very good host. And he gave the rishi a nice seat, and then he sat on the ground at the rishi's feet. So naturally the rishi was very pleased when he saw that the king showing so much respect, is honoring him so nicely. So the sage congratulated him for his humility and hospitality. But the sage notices something. Well, first of all, he's speaking to the king and he's asking the king about the kingdom. You know, how is the kingdom? Your royal associate, paraphernalia, 7 properties. What is it? We hope the 7 properties of material nature are in proper order. And then talks about a king is always protected by 7 elements, right? 7 elements. What are they? His guru, his ministers, his kingdom, his fort, his treasury, his royal order, and his friends. So these 7 things, they're there. If he has those 7 things, they will protect the king. Right? The guru, ministers, kingdom, his fort. And then, then come. So Prabhupada points out that a king is not alone. You know, if he's alone, what kind of king is this? He's alone. Doesn't have any entourage. When the king comes, he will come with his entourage. So here, he said, the king is not alone. His spiritual minister is there, his ministers, all these different things, they're all there. If these 7 are properly maintained, the king is happy. When these 7 are in proper order, the living entity is in a mood of pleasure. Generally, when the associates of the king are quiet and obedient, the king can be happy. So the great sage Angira inquires about the king's personal health and the good fortune of his 7 associates. So Prabhupada then adds a bit, he said, when we ask somebody whether everything is well, we are concerned not only with his personal self, but also with his family, his source of income, and his assistants or servants. All of them must be well, and then a person can be happy, right? If your son is not well, or your assistant is not well, then it's a problem. If somebody in the family is sick, it's a problem. So Angira wants to understand what's happening. And Prabhupada makes a point here in the purport. A king should not simply give orders to his dependents. Just because he is supreme, he can give orders, but he shouldn't only give orders. Sometimes he must follow the instructions of others. The dependents should depend on the king. The mutual dependence will make everyone happy. So sometimes the king gives orders, and sometimes the dependents will tell the king what to do. So this is an interesting point. You know, they have these leadership sanghas, you know, how to lead, how to organize our temples and how to work with people, organize the devotees. And they bring up these kind of points, you know, that you have to be willing to hear from other people. It's not just only, I'm in charge, listen to me. That kind of attitude will not be very much appreciated forever. You have to be willing to hear from other people. And Prabhupada was like that. Prabhupada was very willing to hear from other people. He wanted to know, what do you think? What should we do? He would ask, not just anybody, but he would ask his senior managers, his senior men, he would ask them, what do you think? What should we do? So it's a subtle point. We don't always get those kind of managers, you know, that you want to, some people think, I know everything, I've decided everything. So that mode is not very good. You have to be willing to hear from other people as well. Not all the time, but sometimes you have to. So, Angira is asking about all the people in the palace there, the wives, the citizens, secretaries, servants, and the merchants. Are they all under your control? Are you also in full control of ministers? See, although you may ask them, still you're in charge. You have to be able to control them. The inhabitants of your palace, your provincial governors, your sons, and your other dependents. So sons can be a problem. You have to be able to control them. But cooperation, very important. They have to work together, help each other. And the king's mind must be controlled. It's very important. You're going to be the leader, you're going to be the king, you have to be able to control your own mind. All family members and government officers are subordinate. So Angira Rishi asked the king if his mind was also under control. This is most essential for happiness. He has to be able to control the mind. But Angira says, I can see that your mind is not pleased. You seem to have achieved your desired goal. The kingdom was doing well, the kingdom was prosperous, but the king's face reflects deep anxiety. Angira can see in the face of the king, and he can see the king is not happy. What is wrong? So then the king bends before the great sage, and with humility, he's going to reveal his mind to this Angira. And he says to Angira, you're a perfect yogi, you can understand everything, I cannot hide anything from you. So then he says, just like a person aggrieved by hunger and thirst, if a person is hungry and thirsty, and you give him flower garlands and sandalwood pulp, will you be very happy? No, right? Give me some food, yeah, give me some prasadam, they give you a flower garland, sandalwood paste. And sometimes it happens, you know, you come to a temple, you've been traveling for hours and hours, you know, and you've been on a long flight, you've been in the airports and the traffic jams and everything, and finally you get to the temple, and here they come and give you a garland.
You are in urgency to go to washroom.
Huh?
You are in urgency to go to washroom.
I like that. You know, they give you a flower garland, sandalwood home, and sit on the Vyasa-tan and want to offer Guru Puja or something. Please. And so the king said, the same way I am not pleased with my empire, my possessions, everything. He said, because I have no son. So why was it so important that I should have a son? Why does he need to have a son? What's so important?
For the
Shraddha.
for the kingship to continue.
Yeah, to continue the line, the heir to the throne, and also
Pindadan.
to do the pinda, right? After the king dies, you need somebody to deliver, to do the shraddha, so that the father can be delivered from hell. Putra means one to save the father from put. So he asked Sangira, please do something so that I can have a son to deliver us from hellish conditions. Right? So Maharaj Chitraketu made his request, and Angira, who was born of Lord Brahma's mind, was very merciful to him. So he performs a yagya, and he gets some sweet rice, he gives it to Twasta, and Twasta gives it to Gajuti. Yeah, it was mentioned there, Twasta, by offering oblations of sweet rice to Twasta. So the great sage told the king, now you will have a son who will be the cause of both jubilation and lamentation. And the sage then left without waiting for Chitraketu's response. So, Angira did not explain very much. He just said, your son will be the cause of jubilation and lamentation. So, how does Chitraketu think of this? How does he understand this?
He thought that certainly the son is cause for jubilation, and then maybe he will become not follow my orders or become go astray, then he will cause lamentation. He thought like that.
Yeah, he thought,
He'll be naughty, not obedient.
yeah, he'll be naughty, disobedient, so like that will cause some lamentation. Oh, my son doesn't behave well. Like, things don't like that.
There is a saying in Bengali, "Nei mamar theke kana mama bhalo." Means it is better to have one blind uncle instead of not having an uncle. It is better to have blind uncle.
Okay.
So
It is in
A
some other
blind
purport.
uncle is better than no uncle.
Something better than nothing.
It is in some other purport Prabhupada has written.
what is that?
Yeah, it's
It is
Say the Bengali.
Nei mamar theke kana mama bhalo. Mama means maternal uncle. It is having it is better to have a maternal uncle, blind maternal uncle, instead of not having. Hare Krishna. Nei mamar theke kana mama bhalo.
Blind uncle.
here only.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, it is there. Maternal.
Yeah, yeah.
It is better to have maternal mountain.
So the king accepted this philosophy. He thought a disobedient son will be better than no son at all. Right? If you have no son, it's not very good. But if you have a son, even though he's not very good, well, at least you have a son.
29 slok.
Huh?
Like, 29 slok.
Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit. What is the use of a son who is neither a learned scholar nor a devotee? Such a son is like a blind, diseased eye, which always causes suffering. Nevertheless, the material world is so polluted that one wants to have a son, even though he is useless. This attitude was represented in the history of King Chitraketu. So yeah.
In that you read now that there. So is that a learned scholar son is a substitute of a devotee son? Learned scholar in the sense materialistic learned scholar. Is he a substitute of a devotee son? Can he?
Well, materialistic people are happy. They like to talk, oh, my son's education, he's doing very well, he's studying this, he's studying that. You know, it's just for the sake of prestige. If the son is educated, the son is doing well in his studies, they think, very good. He will be successful, he can go on, he can make money. Like that. So that it's indicating some kind of prestigious position. The son is a devotee, you know, oh, my son joined Hare Krishna, oh. They don't feel, you know, they don't like it so much, you know. Oh. Parents, you know, every time my son became a sadhu, oh. They don't like it. They
He
don't
wasted
feel bad.
education. They say like that. He
Huh?
wasted his education. He wasted his education.
Yeah, wasted his education. Yeah, people think like that. We have so many IIT graduates in ISKCON, you know. Okay. So anyway, Krita Duty gets a fit right and she becomes pregnant and she has a son. And the son was born and they're very pleased. And the king is joyful, he gave so much charity. Look at this, how many cows he gave?
600 million cows.
60 crores, 600 million cows he gave in charity. So he was so happy. He got a son, and he becomes so happy. But what happens to the other wives?
Yeah, jealous.
Huh?
Jealous.
They become
Envious
envious.
Dun dun dun.
The other wives are
They feel neglected by the
neglected.
become
Yeah.
envious.
Because naturally, the first wife, she gave birth to the son, so the king is really very affectionate with her. But he has no affection for the other wife, because they didn't have any sons. So the other queens were very unhappy, and they felt very unfortunate, and they were full of envy. Their hearts became very hard, and they thought we're very unlucky. They thought we're even worse off than the maids in the house, because the maids in the house, they get to go and serve the king, and he will thank them. But you know, we're just his co-wives. He doesn't even bother about us. We have no position. that we're lower than the maids. He said living at home and living in the forest are equal. Better we should go and live in the forest because the husband's not caring for us. And they said, we are the maidservants of the maidservants. So we are most unfortunate. So then, because their heart became very hard, they decided they would give poison to the boy. And they gave poison to the young child, and the child, like, taking all the poison, left the body. So the queen thought, oh, my son's sleeping a long time, wake him up. She tells the nurse, wake him up, and the nurse goes over, and she sees his eyes, and then she could understand that he was dead. And she fainted. The nurse fainted, and now I'm doomed, and fell to the... And then they all came, and the queen understood the boy was dead. And, oh, so much lamentation, so much misery, loud crying. And the queens also cried. The queens who had given poison, they also cried, trying to hide their offense. And the king also was so much affected, he'd been so much attached, and now the boy has died. So there's so much pain in their heart. All the citizens in the kingdom, all the people in the palace, they're all lamenting. And she was talking, she began to talk, and she began to condemn the Creator. Right? She condemns the Creator. Why? What's her reason for condemning God?
She's saying that
She became
the
mad
sun.
out of anger.
Huh?
Like, because
Yeah, but why did she become angry?
The son died in front of father.
The son died before the father. Yeah, she's saying this is not right. The father's older. Father should die first. How could you let the son die before the father? Son should have died first. And she's saying this should be the way the creation works. Is it always like that?
No.
No, it's not always like that, right? But she's condemning the Creator, that you contradicted the laws. So she said, you're the enemy of living entities. You're never merciful. So people will not want to have children anymore if they know they're going to die. You know, if you have a child, you know it's going to die before you, you won't want to have a child. So is that devotional for her to complain like that? What should the devotee, what's the devotee's attitude? What should it be? How should we react? How should we respond to this kind of situation?
It's the Lord's desire. It's the Lord's desire. It was time for him to go before, so he's gone. Or he's gone back to Godhead, maybe.
It's easy to say, but Krishna never makes mistakes.
he has some arrangement or plan which we cannot see.
What would be a verse from the scriptures?
Then comes to Samikshama.
Yes, right. Yes. One who tolerates all kinds of adverse conditions, but goes on worshipping me, then it becomes his rightful claim to go back to the spiritual world. That you go on, you tolerate all kinds of difficulties, but you go on with your devotional service. So that's a very important aspect of devotional service, that you will put up with all kinds of difficulties and go on and serve the Lord without complaint. We'll think it is all Krishna's arrangement, right? It's all his plan. He's the controller. Krishna gave the sun, and Krishna takes the sun, takes him away to go some other place.
Maharaj, what's the reference for that verse?
Tate Nukampam, that's in the 10th canto, Lord Brahma's prayers.
10, 14, 8.
Thank you.
So, Prabhupada explains here, if creative laws are changed according to the whims of providence, then providence certainly should not be considered merciful, but must be considered inimical to the created being. Right? If we say, well, it's the will of providence that the boy died. But providence is not the creator. And the conditioned soul, who is inexperienced, he does not know the subtle laws of fruitive activity. He does not know how these subtle laws work. And without knowledge of these laws, he ignorantly criticizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So people say, how could God do this to me? He's so cruel. How could he let this happen to me? He took away everything, took away all my money, took away my family. How could God, what kind of God is it who does this? Where is his mercy? So people talk like that. We don't understand the plan of the Lord. We don't understand his arrangement. So this Krita Duti, she was not very fixed in devotion. So she continues to go on condemning. She said, you may say that there is no law that a father must die in the lifetime of his son, and that a son must be born in the lifetime of his father. Everyone lives and dies according to his own fruitive activity. And then she talks about a controller. So if karma is so strong that birth and death depend upon it, then there is no need of a controller or God. She's arguing like that. If karma is so strong, but karma is not so strong. And if you say that a controller is needed because the material energy does not have the power to act, one may answer that if the bonds of affection you have created are disturbed by karma, no one will raise children with affection. Instead, everyone will cruelly neglect his children. Yeah, if they can be taken away from you at any time, then no one will have any affection for their children. But that's the fact. This is how it is. The world is like that. That you have a son, you're given a son by the grace of God, and the same son can go away and leave you. He may leave the body, he may simply go away. So she said, you appear inexperienced and unintelligent. Why? Because you have cut the bonds of affection that compel a parent to raise his child. People won't have any more affection to raise their children. If we know that God can take them away at any time, then why should I have any feelings for my child. At any time they can leave me. So Prabhupada quotes the Brahma Samhita, right? Karmani nirdhatu kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Brahma Samhita, from the Brahma Samhita. Well, how's the verse begin? Krishna.
Yasvindra Gopam.
Yasvendra Gopam Akavendra Aho Swakarma Bandhana Rupa Palabhajanam Panoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Chabhakti Bhajam Govindam Adipurusham Amaham. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who burns up to the root all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the results of their previous performed work, no less in the case of Lord Brahma than the tiniest insect that bears the name Indragopa. So like this, Lord Brahma is saying that karma can be burned up, can all be destroyed, can all be removed by devotional service. So Krishna says, we heard what Krishna said, but Krishna says that one who can understand him and how he is acting, controlling everything, immediately becomes free by his grace. So this was the statement there. So the queen begins to talk to her son, and she's pleading with the boy, the dead boy, you should not give up my company. Look at your lamenting father. We're helpless without a son. We shall have to suffer the distress of going to hell. I request you not to go any further with this merciless Yamaraj. So she's talking to the dead boy like this. Okay, we'll take a break.